Hi, my name is Bijal Shah and I am a bibliotherapist and founder of Book Therapy, a bibliotherapy and literary curation practice. I'm also the author of the book Bibliotherapy, The Healing Power of Reading. I curate book prescriptions and provide online training in bibliotherapy. More detail of this can be found on my website, www.booktherapy.io. In this podcast, I share my knowledge and research on bibliotherapy, including the latest developments, science, and book recommendations. Join me every week where we take a deep dive into bibliotherapy. We release 2 episodes a week. Voice notes from me, your resident bibliotherapist, and Ask the Bibliotherapist, book recommendations for what's on your mind. I hope you enjoy the show, and if you'd like a bibliotherapist in your pocket, you might find my book, Bibliotherapy, The Healing Power of Reading, a helpful companion. It's available at any bookstore that you shop at. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and get new episodes as they're released. And as always, I love hearing from listeners. So if you'd like to get in touch, share any book recommendations or thoughts on bibliotherapy, you can do so at bijal@booktherapy.io. Thanks for listening. In today's episode of Bibliotherapy with Bijal Shah, we explore 2026's most anticipated books. Each publishing year has its own gravitational pull, a swirl of novels, memoirs, and works of cultural criticism that promise not just entertainment, but shifts in how we understand the world. Some titles arrive with the weight of celebrated authors behind them. Others signal the emergence of new electric voices. And some, quietly released, become the books friends pass urgently into each other's hands. This year's most anticipated titles reveal a panorama of obsessions, identity, the politics of belonging, mental health, lost histories, mathematics as art, and the power and peril of storytelling itself. Across continents, time periods, and genres, these books remind us that literature remains one of our most essential tools for navigating the world's complexity. From sweeping historical epics to intimate meditations on the self, from magical libraries to the mathematics behind creativity, here are the books readers, critics, and booksellers are most excited to read next year. Firstly, I have We Want So Much to Be Ourselves by Stephen O'Connor. The book centers on psychoanalyst Gunter Zeitz, his wife Josine, a former patient of Freud, and their daughter Hannah. As the political climate darkens around them, the novel interrogates the fragility of intellect, the malleability of identity, and the way authoritarianism seeps into private lives. O'Connor uses the rise of Nazism not merely as backdrop, but as a catalyst for unraveling the family's beliefs about science, truth, and moral responsibility. By delving into the nexus of psychoanalysis and the creeping distortions of ideology, he crafts a novel that is both historical and deeply contemporary, echoing the ways personal agency and integrity come under pressure in moments of national crisis. It's a standout work of psychological fiction, one that lingers long after the final chapter. Second, I have Beckomberga by Sara Stridsberg. Originally lauded in Sweden and now reaching a wider audience, Sara Stridsberg's Beckomberga is a dreamlike, devastating portrait of a psychiatric hospital on the verge of closure. Through young Jackie's eyes, we witness her father Jim's repeated hospitalizations and encounters with the facility's unforgettable characters. Olaf, Sabina, and others who have found in Beckomberga not simply confinement, but a strange form of sanctuary. Stridsberg's prose is elliptical and hypnotic, balancing tenderness with despair. In an era when conversations around mental health are evolving rapidly, Beckenberger offers a poignant reminder that behind clinical language lie stories of yearning, dependency, love, and the human instinct to find meaning even in confinement. It is one of the most emotionally resonant works releasing next year. Third, I have The Madness Pill. One Doctor's Quest to Understand Schizophrenia by Justin Garson. While Beckomberger investigates mental illness through fiction, Justin Garson's The Madness Pill brings scientific inquiry to the forefront. Focusing on Dr. Salomon Snyder's groundbreaking work, Garson traces the shift from psychoanalysis toward a biological understanding of schizophrenia. The narrative unfolds like a scientific thriller, inducing psychosis in the lab, discovering dopamine receptors, and challenging entrenched theories of the mind. At a moment when debates about psychiatric medication, neurodiversity, and diagnostic frameworks are intensifying, Garson offers both historical clarity and ethical nuance. His storytelling bridges the personal and the clinical, reminding readers that scientific revolutions are never purely scientific. They are human quests driven by curiosity, compassion, and sometimes obsession. Fourth, I have Island of Impact, uncovering Puerto Rico's untold story, global power, and fight for identity by Dean Huertas. Dean Huertas' sweeping nonfiction work is poised to become one of the most talked about cultural histories of the year. Island of Impact challenges monolithic narratives about Puerto Rico by highlighting the island's interconnected legacies. Indigenous, African, European, Asian, and American. Rather than casting Puerto Rico solely as a site of colonization or US territory politics, Huertas foregrounds its global importance, complexity, and cultural agency. Through energetic prose and meticulous research, the book paints Puerto Rico not as a footnote in someone else's empire, but as a crucible of resistance, creativity, and identity formation. Readers looking for a richer understanding of the island beyond tourism brochures and political headlines will find Huerta's work essential. Fifth, I have I Give You My Silence by Mario Vargas Llosa. Few releases come with as much literary anticipation as a new novel from Nobel laureate Mario Vargas Llosa. I Give You My Silence transports readers back to Peru during the turbulent early 1990s, blending artistic obsession with political upheaval. The novel follows Tono Asbilchuata, a scholar of Creole music, who becomes fixated on the enigmatic guitarist Lalo Morfino. Through Tono's quest to write a transformative book about Peruvian waltzes, Vargas Llosa examines how art both reflects and fractures national identity. With its meditations on music, memory, and the pressures of ideological conflict, the book promises to be a major event in world literature. Next, I have The Last of Earth by Deepa Anapara. This is a literary fiction debut. Deepa Anapara, acclaimed for her debut Jeune Patrol on the Purple Line, returns with The Last of Earth, an ambitious historical epic set in the Himalayas of 1869. The novel traces the intersecting journeys of Balram, an Indian schoolteacher turned British surveyor, and Catherine, a British woman travelling disguised as a monk to slip past colonial and cultural barriers. As they traverse treacherous landscapes towards Lhasa, their secrets and desires collide with the geopolitical ambitions of the era. The novel asks urgent questions about empire, cultural trespass, spiritual longing, and the cost of mapping both land and people. Anapara's blend of lyrical prose and political insight positions this as one of 2026's defining historical novels. The next few books focus on fiction that reimagines storytelling itself, and the first book I have in this section is The Astral Library by Kate Quinn. Kate Quinn, beloved for her historical thrillers, shifts gears with The Astral Library, a magical literary adventure destined for wide popularity. Protagonist Alex Watson, a young woman juggling jobs and loss, discovers a hidden portal in the Boston Public Library that leads to a vast, interdimensional library where readers can literally exist inside their favourite books. The novel blends fantasy with literary homage, offering readers the joy of steeping into Austen's salons, Holmes's London, or Gatsby's shimmering parties. But at the story's heart lies a darker threat, an adversary who aims to corrupt these worlds from within. With its mix of enchantment, peril, and book lover nostalgia, The Astral Library feels tailor-made for readers craving immersion and wonder. The second book I have in this section is Ghost Eye by Amitav Ghosh. This combines reincarnation mystery, environmental consciousness, and family drama into a multi-layered narrative. When 3-year-old Varsha begins speaking of a past life cooking fish by a river with another mother, her vegetarian family in Calcutta is thrown into turmoil. Dr. Sharma Bose, a scholar of reincarnation, investigates, uncovering threads that connect Varsha's memories to environmental degradation and generational trauma. Ghosh's ability to fuse the personal with the ecological, the mystical with the political, makes Ghost Eye one of the year's most intellectually stimulating novels, and one likely to deepen his already formidable legacy. Third in this section, I have Fat Swim by Emma Copley Eisenberg. Following her critically acclaimed novel, The Third Rainbow Girl, Emma Copley Eisenberg returns with Fat Swim, a linked story collection examining bodies, desire, and queer identity. Set largely in Philadelphia, the stories explore the emotional and social landscapes shaped by fatness, transness, and gender expression. The power of Fat Swim lies in Eisenberg's ability to render characters with tenderness and precision, without reducing them to symbols or narratives of resilience. These stories, as much about liberation and pleasure as they are about pain, a nuanced corrective to cultural narratives that often flatten marginalized bodies. And last in this section I have This Is Not About Us by Allegra Goodman. Allegra Goodman's latest novel is a wise, warmly observed exploration of the Rubinstein family across 3 decades. What begins as a seemingly small disagreement following their sister's death, a misunderstanding over apple cake, slowly calcifies into an estrangement that reverberates through marriages, childhoods, and the passages of everyday life. Goodman's genius lies in depicting the quiet dramas that shape us. The unsent email, the memory carried incorrectly for decades, the words unsaid. This is not about us is poised to be one of the year's breakout family novels. The next section focuses on books that help us rethink knowledge, creativity, and the human journey. First in this section, I have Blueprints, How Mathematics Shapes Creativity by mathematician and storyteller Marcus du Sautet. Mathematics forms the underlying structure of human creativity. Whether examining the proportions in Renaissance painting, the geometry behind modern architecture, the algorithms powering digital art, or the harmonics in music, du Sautet demonstrates that math is far from sterile. It is a source of generative beauty. This book arrives at an ideal moment when AI, computational design, and algorithmic aesthetics dominate cultural conversations. Blueprints is both an accessible introduction to mathematical thought and a compelling philosophy of creativity. And last but not least, I have the book Life Revisited, a multidisciplinary approach to the purpose of existence by Laurent Grenier. Laurent Grenier's Life Revisited brings together philosophy, neuroscience, systems theory, and ethics to tackle humanity's oldest question: what is the purpose of existence? Grenier critiques simplistic narratives, whether purely scientific or purely spiritual, and instead offers a synthesis grounded in complexity. The book addresses consciousness, moral agency, suffering, and the ecological precarity of the modern world. For readers drawn to the works of Yuval Noah Harari, Carl Sagan, or Martha Nussbaum, Life Revisited will be compelling and an intellectually rich read, one that invites contemplation rather than dogma. Taken together, these books sketch the silhouette of our current cultural fascinations, and in particular, inform my bibliotherapy practice. What I've noted is that there is a hunger to understand identity in its many forms: personal, political, historical, embodied. There is a renewed interest in untold histories, from Puerto Rico's global connections to Peru's musical heritage to Tibet's contested past. There is a reckoning with mental health, both through science and through the deeply human stories of those living on the margins. There is a desire for imaginative escape, found in magical libraries, reincarnated memories, and hybrid realities. And lastly, there is a quest for meaning, whether through mathematics, philosophy, or the hard emotional work of family relationships. What makes this year especially rich in the diversity, not just of authors and subjects, but of approaches? Some books offer escape, some quiet the mind, many do both. Above all, these works remind us that reading is not passive consumption, it is collaboration. We enter these books with our own fears, convictions, joys, and blind spots, and emerge altered, even if subtly. As the year unfolds, and these anticipated titles enter the hands of readers, discussions will ripple outward about who gets to tell certain stories, how fiction can reshape history, how science can illuminate the soul, and how stories, real or imagined, become the architecture of our inner lives. If this lineup is any indication, we are about to enter a year of bold, probing, beautifully crafted books. Whether you're drawn to the uncanny, the intellectual, the historically immersive, or the emotionally resonant, this year's most anticipated releases offer a literary journey as varied and vibrant as the readers eager to embrace them. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Bibliotherapy with Bijal Shah, and I hope that the books listed here inspire your reading list in 2026. Are there any that I should have included? Do let me know. I always love hearing from listeners. Thanks so much again for listening, and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you'd like to sign up to our online courses or try a personalised book prescription or bibliotherapy session, you can do so following the links in the show notes. And as always, I love hearing from listeners, so don't hesitate to drop me an email at bijal@booktherapy.io.